What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. I want to go over some of the data points, break it down on what really moved it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So SoFi went down 4.1%, 28.69 the low, 30.79 the high. So we had a lot of volatility. Generally, the broader market just sucked. SoFi, in comparison to a lot of other fintechs, did do fairly well though. We did see kind of low volume, so 68.3 million shares being traded, 75.9 is the average. Today, we didn't really have any macro data that really moved the market. Rather, it was Wall Street interpreting Palantir's earnings. So even though they did hit a home run, gave good future guidance, and hit all the key metrics, still, Wall Street was focusing on their multiple just being excessively high. This is something I even did kind of bring up on my Patreon, saying that despite most likely Palantir hitting all the key metrics, their multiple and how Wall Street's going to interpret that is going to ultimately bring Palantir lower. So I even posted as the title, unpopular opinion, because everyone thinks that Palantir just goes up consistently. But I didn't think that it would kind of spread this vast across the broader market. And conveniently, we have another very similar scenario, AMD. So they're putting out their earnings after hours today. So potentially another fear could roll over into Wednesday. So definitely not the best. I think in SoFi's case though, despite it having a forward PE of 82.25, a lot of the bears have kind of just turned a blind eye to SoFi, only because a lot of their growth, it kind of does justify that multiple. So let me know your viewpoint on that. But ultimately, that was kind of the reason why the broader market did go down. Still, I always like to go over where volume does primarily come from. We saw a lot of good institutional transactions today, but majority of which was algorithmic trading. So today was another very artificially suppressed day. But still, I feel like people are kind of running out of money to buy the dip. So that's probably why you had a lot of the broader market just really go down. Aside from that though, SoFi did put out news. United Airlines launches mileage plus debit rewards card. So this is good stuff. Another good Galileo kind of check going on there. And is this a reason to buy SoFi? Not so much, nor is it a reason to sell. It's just a good FYI and just reconfirmation that kind of Galileo is hitting the marks. And plus, even aside from that, the last news that did come out was linked to that, and that was Southwest Airlines. So SoFi is doing phenomenal. Galileo is doing phenomenal. So that's always a good plus. A couple of things did come out. So Data Driven Investing posted this on Twitter, saying that SoFi is going to be presenting at the KBW Fintech Payment Conference on November 11th. Normally, this is something that SoFi likes to put out in formal news. Interestingly enough, they didn't, but you can even see on their website that they are actually at that event. So KBW Fintech Payments Conference. So that should be a pretty good catalyst, because historically speaking, every time SoFi does these fireside chats, SoFi closes in the green that day. The only other thing that I wanted to bring up was posted by SoFi Insider, and it just goes to show that SoFi is starting to offer business credit cards. So credit cards have been largely profitable, expanding at a good rate, and so why not kind of expand that, right? So yeah, I think generally good stuff for all of these things. So Fintech conference or the payment conference, this business credit cards, and this right here. So let me know your viewpoint on that. Shorts, they did increase about 20,000. Nothing really too crazy, but 8.45% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 100 million shares overall being shorted. Cost to borrow average, fairly low. Negative, or cost to borrow minimum is negative 0.23. So you kind of see some signs of manipulation going on again. Looking at the options, 50 million in calls, 9.7 in puts. So I know that kind of sounds like a lot, but in comparison to what it has, that is very, very low. 44% of all the options being done though today are bearish in nature, most of which was done in the first half of the trading day. From a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to recover to that $30 range. Bears are anticipating for it to continue to push lower to between that $28 to $29 range. So kind of have that back and forth. Quickly popping over here, this is some of the unusual activity, primarily out of the money ones. So you do have, it looks like 2 bearish and 2 bullish ones. and it looks like the bearish one, so in the short term, so November 14th and November 21st, those ones are bearish and then kind of transitioning to bullish. So it looks like people are anticipating more pain before things get a little bit better. So just wanted to kind of bring that up for you. Aside from that, these are some of the transactions. I'll just hit refresh, but these are some of the transactions that did occur on the secondary market. So big one, 48.2, 21.1, 13.1, 2.7. So a lot of big money, as per usual, was getting in. Frequency was a little bit lower. Normally we had a lot more kind of multi-million-dollar transactions. So like I said, algorithmic trading was kind of the main source of the volume. We didn't have any new analyst ratings. On a side note, we still had that one bearish one that came out a couple days back. That was from Bank of America. Analyst has a 61% success rating. Quickly bouncing back over here, these are some of the transactions that did occur on the dark pool. Big one just occurred pretty much 1 minute before the market did close. That was 29.8 million, so just over 1 million shares. So kind of crazy stuff for that. 28.7, that was done a couple of seconds after the market did close. 6.66, kind of bad number there, but 5.29, 2.4, and so forth. So dark pool was a little bit more active, and of course hedge funds and shorts like to use the dark pool, but still good to see institutions really trading it. Right now though, with it at 29.37, looking at the 4-hour chart right here, it is trading between this pivot and this S1. So 28.69 is going to be a strong support. And in fact, it did bounce off of that for the low, exactly the low. So we know going forward, that's a strong support level. And then 30.25 followed by 31.88 is going to be the next strong target / resistance point. So looks like the broader market is kind of moving a little bit. I don't know if AMD did put out their kind of tentative earnings just yet, but they seem to be kind of moving up, down, all over the place. So we'll kind of wait and see how the market does interpret that. But keep in mind, Palantir did hit home run earnings, but they still went down because people questioned their kind of multiple. But aside from all of that fun stuff, quickly popping back over here, on the actual chart, it did close briefly below that, or minorly below that 10-day moving average. So it kind of shows a little bit more of a slowing momentum, but it's been flirting with that for the last 2.5, 3 weeks, something like that. So I'm not too worried, but one line in the sand that has been holding up SoFi for a while now is that 50-day moving average, and that's sitting at 27.46. So that's, again, just another element to kind of watch. So if you're wanting to dollar cost average, it might be potentially heading there. But looking at the market position, you see a lot of willing buyers, still a little bit less than yesterday, of course, but still a good amount considering what's happening in the market. So I feel like a lot of people just generally don't know what the hell happened today. So it's really hard to kind of buy the dip when you don't really have anything, because there's one thing if Trump like tweets saying, hey, yeah, you know what, we're going to hit Canada with like a 5 million% tariff, then we can kind of analyze that, judge it. Whereas today it was all very psychological, and I still see pretty much market close, like people asking, hey, what the hell happened today? So it's just kind of crazy day, and hopefully it was just more of a one-off. Like I said, it was just being artificially suppressed through algorithmic trading. So give yourself a shout out if you did buy the SoFi dip, or if you bought the dip with any other stock. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. I put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades. Worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.